Hey guys, welcome back to another video here on Toned In Entertainment, where we love pop culture. Today, it's time for another comic book series review. Now, this particular series, I did review issue number 1 as part of my first impression series, and I did give issue number 1 a 7 out of 10, and it did do a good enough job to pique my interest to come back and check out the rest of this 4-issue series. So, will the rest of this series be worth its weight in gold, or should you just take this comic, dig it underground, and put no treasure map out there for nobody to ever find this one? Well, let's get on with my comic book series review of Stranger Things: Tomb of Ybwen, released back in 2021. Now, this series begins with a flashback to November 1st, 1984, where Will is recalling a conversation between him and Bob, where Bob is telling the story about how he found himself having terrifying nightmares and how he was able to muster up the courage and conquer his fear of a scary clown named Mr. Baldo. Now, that's all we're going to see from Bob here, at least in the physical form, because this story is going to pick up on January 13th, 1985, which is after Bob's passing. Now, both Will and his mom are still grieving, each in their own ways, with the loss of Bob, who is very important to both of them. Now, while I said Bob would not appear anymore in this series, at least in a physical form, just because he's gone, that doesn't mean that he's forgotten, as Mr. Clark has come across a box that Bob had left behind, and he wants to pass it on to Will. Now, while there are some nice mementos left behind, what really catches Will's attention is the possibility that Bob has left pieces of a treasure map behind. Now, Will is going to jet on over to meet up with Mike, Lucas, and Dustin to not only tell them of his findings, but hopes that they'll be on the same page to set off on an adventure. But unfortunately for Will, he's told that going on this possible treasure hunt is a bad idea because of a blizzard that's expected to hit their town in the next couple hours. Now, maybe if Will wasn't dealing with the loss of Bob, he might actually be less impulsive and have a clear head about not heading out into an impending blizzard all alone. However, when issue 1 does come to a close, Will is setting out into the forest to seek out the X on the map, even if it means it's a solo adventure. Now, as we head into issue number 2, Mike, Lucas, and Dustin are all sitting around and they're waiting for Will to show up so they can all indulge in some Dungeons and Dragons fun. But they're going to come to the realization that not only is Will not going to show up, but that he probably head out to seek out Bob's treasure in this impending blizzard all alone. Now, being the good friends that they are, this trio will head out and will quickly realize that their intuitions are correct and Will is out in Mirkwood all alone. Now, after a little bit of trekking and even some minor bumps in the road, this trio will come across Will and they will plead with him that if they could just come back and look for the X on the map when the weather conditions are better. Now, just as the guys are able to reason with Will, Dustin spots this X and these 4 guys will begin digging away. Meanwhile, in town, the snowstorm is moving through, freezing over the power lines and cutting off electricity to all. The guys who have been frantically digging relentlessly finally hit pay dirt. However, when they open the crate, it's just another clue that teases that whomever finds this map is just one step closer to uncovering the secrets of the Tomb of Ybwen. Now, before the guys can get their thoughts together as to what their next move should be, there's going to be a powerful gust of wind that not only knocks them down, but also sends the map flying away. With the blizzard settling in, the boys are going to find themselves in a dangerous predicament, but Lucas will be able to at least radio out to Mr. Clark and let him know that they are in trouble. Now, even though Mr. Clark doesn't have their exact location, he at least has a general idea and will leave Jen and the comfort of his warm home to go out and seek out the kids. Now, as issue number 3 opens, we're going to see Mr. Clark here trekking through over a foot of snow that has already fallen to the ground. And as far as the guys go, let's just say they're not seeing eye to eye on what their next move should be. Now, Mike is going to be brutally honest with Will that Bob made this map 20 years ago when he was just a dumb kid like they are now, and that this just might be one big prank. But even though continuing on in this horrible weather and looking on to solve Bob's map is not the smartest thing to do, when Dustin sees the ridge, the guys will keep marching forward until they come across a little ray of sunshine in this dark and freezing blizzard. And that's some shelter that will not only provide them some warmth, but is also the place that's marked on the map. Now once inside, the guys are going to take the next steps they believe are needed in order to solve Bob's map, but what they come across is an adventurer whose journey came to a close. Mr. Clark will finally arrive where the boys are at, but after a tumble, he's not going to be able to contribute to their rescue, but will hobble along with them on their journey. Now along the way, they came across a skeleton, but they're going to soonly realize what they came across wasn't exactly what they thought it was at first glance, and after a bit more of explanation, they'll come across a box with Ybwen marked on it. Now as issue number 3 comes to a close, the guys are ready to see what secrets are inside this case. Plus, we're also going to learn that the word Ybwen is just the word newbie, which just happens to be Bob's last name spelled backwards. Now as issue number 4 opens, our favorite guys from Stranger Things are really ready to reap the rewards of all their hard work on this treasure hunt. Or will they be extremely disappointed? Now after having to open this case by force, unfortunately, there's no diamonds, gold, or precious artifacts, but what they will find is a letter that Bob has left behind congratulating them on their adventure. And while they will not be rewarded in the physical sense of riches, what they did earn was a fellowship and a new friendship. While Mr. Clark will find this amusing as it's just classic Bob here, as for Will, he's going to be rather upset to say the least. Now Mr. Clark, who is not only injured, but is also feeling the effects of the pain medication he's taken, will tell Will that he's found what might be a piece of a treasure. And while this is not made of silver or platinum, but rather pewter, Mr. Clark offers this piece to Will as he's sure Bob would have wanted him to have it. Now with the map solved and the blizzard only getting worse, the priority is now to try and get back to town as quickly as possible. But Mr. Clark will be of no use and will only make their trek even slower. Now after an exhausting trip through the rough elements, there will be a glimmer of hope as Jen has been able to track them down and brought help. Now as far as Will goes, yes, he was disappointed in the initial findings where the map had led him, but in the end he will realize that even though Bob is physically gone, he will never be alone. Now while I did rate issue number 1 a 7 out of 10, which means I thought it was good, for this video I'm going to rate the entire 4-issue series, and unfortunately for me, this series, it's just above average, so I'm going to give Stranger Things Tomb of Ybwen a 6 out of 10. Now while I did enjoy this series, much like Will in this story, I have to admit I was a bit disappointed as I wish there was more of an adventure. Now while I thought the payoff of this adventure was fine, this is a Stranger Things comic, so I was really hoping for a little bit of creepiness along the way, which unfortunately is not present. Now if you're a fan of Stranger Things, will you enjoy this? Sure, it's always fun to go on an adventure with these characters that we all know and love. I just feel like there was so much potential for something awesome here with these guys going on a treasure hunt to seek out a tomb in the middle of the blizzard, but in the end it really didn't live up to the expectations I expect from a Stranger Things story. Alright guys, well that's going to wrap up this comic book series review for Stranger Things Tomb of Ybwen. Now are there any other Stranger Things comic book series out there that you think I should check out and review here on the channel? And did you also read the series? And if you did, what are your thoughts? I would like to hear them. Definitely comment down below. Now I do have all 4 issues of the one where Dustin goes off to science camp. I have read 2 of those 4 issues and I thought they were pretty good, so I'm thinking that might be the next thing in Stranger Things that I jump into. Alright guys, if you like comic book series reviews like this and all things pop culture, make sure you stay tuned in here to Toned In Entertainment for future videos.
Subscribe to the channel. Do it. Go now. Do it now.